I'm in his car, alone, just me and my boss. I'm in graduate school studying broadcast journalism. And he tells me I have to ride with him for a remote location radio show. I'm following my dream of one day becoming a television news anchor. And this radio gig is my first step into the professional broadcasting world. We finish the remote show. We're on our way back to the station in his car. I feel uncomfortable. There's an energy that I just can't quite explain. And then suddenly, he reaches over and grabs my left thigh. And I gasp and quickly move his hand. He tells me, "Don't do that." Then he explains that I was only hired because of how cute I look in a skirt. And he tries to grab my leg again. I say, "Stop, don't touch me." He keeps driving. And then he tells me that if I tell anyone, then I'll never work in broadcasting again. I'm trembling. I'm clutching the passenger door, scared. I don't exhale the entire drive back. And I feel sick on my stomach as we pull into the parking lot of the radio station. I quickly get out of the car and I get into my car. I lock the doors. Alone. I burst into tears. I feel so hurt. So stupid. And I know I better stay quiet. I'm afraid I might never work in broadcasting again if I speak up. Welcome to Most Myself. I'm Michelle Madrid. And today I want to talk about something so many women carry, but rarely say out loud. What happens when someone hurts you deeply and you stay silent? Now, what I shared with you, that part of my own personal story, that was harassment. It wasn't okay. It was an abuse of power. And it took me time to even speak of that incident that happened in my young life. But I want to emphasize that hurt is not always the loud kind. It's not always betrayal with a capital B. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's a comment that cuts deeper than anyone realizes. Or a relationship dynamic that slowly teaches you your feelings are inconvenient. Or a moment when something inside of you needed to speak and didn't. A conversation where you walked away saying, "It's fine," even though your body knew that it wasn't. And maybe nobody else even knows it happened. But you know. Your body knows. Your nervous system knows. Your heart knows. And I think so many women have spent years, sometimes decades, trying to convince themselves that silence is maturity, that it's just what you have to do, that silence is strength, or maybe that silence is love. Because we've been taught something, haven't we? Be the bigger person. Don't overreact. Don't make it worse. Stay calm. Stay gracious. Stay understanding. Stay nice. And if I'm honest, I think many women became very skilled at swallowing pain in order to maintain connection. I swallowed the pain of that incident in that car with my boss in order to maintain a dream that I had of working in television news. I was afraid that would be taken from me. And it wasn't even my fault. But we learn how to minimize our hurt so nobody else will feel uncomfortable. And I want to say something that might feel a little uncomfortable. I don't actually think women are naturally better at handling all the things. I don't think we're naturally better at handling moments of injustice, of abuse. I think many women have been conditioned to disconnect from themselves in order to survive carrying all of those things. And honestly, women are not naturally better at carrying impossible emotional loads. We were conditioned to. We were told to. We were taught to from a very young age. Many of us were praised for being easy, being agreeable, being appeasing, being emotionally accommodating, being low maintenance, being strong, being silent. But underneath a lot of that strength that we showed was self-silencing. And eventually, you can become so practiced at overriding your own hurt, your own knowing, that you stop recognizing how much pain you are actually carrying. And for many of us, that conditioning started really early. Maybe expressing emotion in your home wasn't safe. It wasn't for me. Maybe your feelings were dismissed. Maybe your needs felt too much. Maybe speaking honestly created conflict. Maybe you learned that love felt more secure when you stayed easy to manage. And so you adapted. You learned, keep the peace, handle it quietly, carry it privately. And the hard part is, sometimes those adaptations worked. They helped us survive. But survival patterns that protected us at one stage of life can begin hurting us at another stage, especially in midlife. Because midlife has a way of bringing us face to face with ourselves. And if you're in this season, you know. And I think that's part of why so many women feel exhausted right now. And I hear from them every day. Not simply because life is busy, but because many have spent years emotionally overfunctioning while quietly abandoning themselves. And culturally, we normalized it. We normalized women being exhausted. We normalized emotional labor. We normalized overfunctioning. We normalized women being the strong ones, the rocks. We praise women for handling it all without asking what it's costing them. And this is the part I am no longer willing to normalize. Women being praised for how much pain they can quietly endure. Because at what cost? at the cost of their nervous systems, their health, their marriages, their joy, their dreams, their identity, their aliveness. We call women resilient when many are actually emotionally unsupported. And that matters. And I think midlife exposes it, because eventually the body says, I cannot keep carrying this silently year after year after year. And I know that feeling personally, like the story that I shared at the top of this episode. There have been moments in my life where I was deeply hurt. And instead of speaking honestly about it, instead of speaking up, I immediately shifted into understanding everyone else. I intellectualized it. I blamed myself. It must be my fault. What did I do? I explained it away. I tried to rise above it, be the stronger one. I even tried to be compassionate. I tried to avoid making anyone else uncomfortable, even the one who was in the wrongdoing. And compassion matters deeply to me. Of course it does. It does. But I've had to learn that there is a difference between compassion and self-abandonment. There is a difference between grace and disappearing yourself. I can remember many moments in my life where I told myself, it's okay. It's not worth bringing up. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to create any conflict. I don't want to rock the boat. I'll just move on. But internally, I wasn't moving on. I was storing it. And I think this is something we need to talk about more openly as women. Just because hurt is unspoken doesn't mean it disappears. It doesn't. The things we don't say don't go away. The body keeps score in quiet ways. Maybe it's resentment. Maybe it's exhaustion, tension, emotional numbness, overthinking, hyper-independence, feeling disconnected in relationships, feeling emotionally alone while surrounded by people. Sometimes what we call burnout is actually years and years and years of unspoken hurt. And what's wild is many women don't even realize how disconnected they've become from themselves because the culture normalized it. We started calling survival personality. I'm just the dependable one. I'm just independent. I'm just the one everyone comes to. I'm just good at handling all the things. But sometimes those identities are adaptations and not truths. And I think many women secretly fear this. If I stop over accommodating, if I stop smoothing things over, if I stop carrying everyone emotionally, if I stop being endlessly understanding, will people still love me? Will they still love me? And that question sits underneath so much female exhaustion, because many women were taught that their value lived in what they provided, what they tolerated, how emotionally convenient they could be for everyone else. So let's take a moment and talk about what healing looks like, because this is where my ache to action formula becomes really important. Some women might hear the word action and immediately think confrontation, but I want to make it clear that action doesn't always mean exploding or striking out. Sometimes the very first action is simply acknowledgement. So let's walk through this gently. The ache might sound like, I'm really hurting. I feel invisible. I feel emotionally alone. I keep telling myself I'm fine, but I'm not. I'm tired of swallowing what I really feel. I'm tired of abandoning myself to keep the peace. And underneath every ache, there's usually an unmet need every single time. Maybe the need is, I need to feel heard. I need honesty. I need emotional safety. I need respect. I need to stop betraying myself. I need space to feel what I actually feel. And so we name that unmet need. And then comes the action. And it's not a giant leap I'm talking about. It's not the dramatic ending. It's not the retaliation. Just one small, honest, loving, doable step. And maybe the step is admitting the truth to yourself. Maybe it's journaling instead of suppressing. Maybe it's finally saying to a trusted friend, I think something hurt me more than I wanted to admit. That's what I did when finally I reached out to a friend and told them what happened to me in that car with my boss. And maybe it's allowing yourself to cry instead of immediately rationalizing your pain away. Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it's working with a coach. Maybe it's a boundary. Maybe it's pausing before automatically saying it's okay. Because women say it's okay so quickly sometimes that we don't even stop to ask ourselves if it actually is. And I say this with so much compassion, my friend. Many women have become fluent in dismissing themselves. We've become fluent in it. And that's why this work matters deeply. And I also want to say this. Using your voice doesn't make you cruel. Having boundaries does not make you selfish. Telling the truth about your pain does not make you dramatic. And protecting your heart does not mean you stopped being loving. I think many women fear that if they stop over-accommodating, they'll become hard. But what I've learned and what I know now, I'm actually seeing the opposite of that. When women stop over-accommodating, they become more alive, more honest, more connected, more peaceful, more emotionally present, more themselves. Because resentment softens when self-abandonment stops. And sometimes the healing isn't even about fixing the relationship. Sometimes the healing is simply this. I finally stopped leaving myself behind inside of it. And that's where we start returning to ourselves. That's where we start returning to ourselves. So if this episode resonates with you today, I just want you to sit with this question gently. You can journal on it. Where have I been staying silent about my hurt? Where have I been staying silent about my hurt, about what's hurting in ways that are costing me my connection to myself? And this isn't to shame yourself. It's not to judge yourself. It's just to notice what you notice rising up. Because awareness changes things. It does. And maybe your next step isn't loud. Maybe it's simply telling the truth somewhere safe. To yourself, to a journal, to someone who can hold it with care. Because your voice does not have to start as a roar. It just has to start. And I want to leave you with this. I don't believe women came into this world to spend their lives quietly enduring themselves into exhaustion. And I'm no longer interested in glorifying women for how much pain they can silently carry. That's done. I think midlife is the moment many women begin waking up to the cost of that conditioning, the cost of disappearing, the cost of silence, the cost of always being fine. And maybe healing begins here, not by becoming harder, not by becoming louder, but by becoming more honest about what hurt, more honest about what you need, and more honest about the places you've abandoned yourself trying to keep the peace. Because your voice matters, and it matters not only to others, but to you. And every time you tell the truth, instead of silencing yourself, you move one step closer to becoming most yourself. And that's the place I want to live from. And that's the place I want to help you live from too. So thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for sharing this space with me. And until next time, keep choosing the parts of you that have waited far too long to be heard.